Hey, scholars. Hey, let's talk about the final exam. It's coming up next week. Most of you have signed up for it with ProctorU. That's great. If you haven't, make sure you do that soon. So the final exam is going to cover everything since the midterm. It's non-comprehensive, although one of the things you do need to know is normal distribution, which is a holdover from the midterm. So make sure to watch those videos that were in that Carrie put in the week 0 folder. So we're going to cover Chapter 10, HR, Chapter 11, Supply Chain, the supplement to Chapter 11, which was S11, which is Supply Chain Analytics, um, Inventory in Chapter 12, and then Module C, which is Transportation Models, Module F, which is the Simulation Module, and I think that's Chapter 13, which is Aggregate Planning and S&OP, and then Chapter 17, which is Maintenance and Reliability. So that's all in the syllabus, but make sure you cover everything since the midterm and everything that I mentioned there. So the final is going to have 25 questions. 12 of them are out of the test bank, and they're multiple choice. So with those test bank questions, you've got to know that material and you got to be able to get through it pretty quickly, but they're all more or less directly out of the textbook. So read all of those chapters again, read them more than once, rule of eights. And then it has 13 short answer questions. I'm not going to tip you off to every one of them, but let me give you some ideas of things that you really do need to study for. In the HR chapter, we talked about time studies. So that's certainly something that's a fair ball. When we were talking about HR in the lecture, we talked about different ways to assure that your organization is effective. So how do you go about bringing on the right people? Then how do you go about managing those people once you do bring them on? We talked about 360 evaluations. We talked about effective interviewing techniques and things of that nature. So know that. Supply chain, normal distribution, bullwhip effect, all things that are fair game for questions. And again, these are going to be short answers, not multiple choice. Now, some of them might be kind of multiple choice, but more in the context of a short answer. Shipping costs, determine, you got a couple different scenarios. You determine which one's the better cost. EOQ, that's going to be on there. Safety stock, also in inventory, how do you determine proper safety stock levels? Reorder points for inventory, kind of tying back to the EOQ model. And safety stock, inventory metrics that we reviewed, such as inventory turnover, all pretty well laid out in the book. How do you calculate system reliability? Remember that, it's just the components of the system multiplied by each other. And then you need to go at least one deep on that, which would be, okay, so if we're not happy with the system reliability and we want to add a redundant circuit, then what is if you're looking at computer chips, for instance, then what would the new reliability of the system be? So you need to know that. Everything around mean time between failure, there's the whole calculation around that, but you need to understand all of that. Maintenance breakdown costs, get through that, understand that. So there's a fair amount to study. I think that if you started with this, then you're certainly on the right track to do very well on the final. So that's it. I'm going to leave it there. I'll see you all on Tuesday. We'll go through most of this stuff in class, cover any questions you have, and study hard.